Hello, Adab sir. I am grateful for being given this opportunity to talk about the poets of Hyderabad, Urdu poets of Hyderabad. It's a unique uh, project undertaken by Face Foundation, and it deals about, talks about Hyderabad, the city of many stories. At the very outset, let me tell you that it is almost an impossible task to capture the essence of poetry of the city, because the corpus of Urdu poetry in Hyderabad spans 4 to 5 decades, and there are thousands and thousands of very prominent poets who have composed poetry in Hyderabad. So that problem is, I think, what holds me back. I had to be very selective. Um, One solution that I found was if one takes a walk down the Tangmud, you come across 30 and odd statues there of prominent personalities who have contributed to the region. And among those, you have 3 statues of people who hail from the city of Hyderabad. Now, uh, these three personalities are also poets of Urdu. And so I thought I would divide my thoughts today based on the 3 phases of Urdu poetry, with these 3 personalities as markers. The first is the last Sultan of Golconda, Abul Hasan Tana Shah, who ruled from 1672-73 till 1687, when the Golconda state was merged with the Mughal Empire. The second personality is a very famous, very popular personality of Hyderabad, the sixth Nizam, His Highness Nawab Mir Mehboob Ali Pasha, whom everyone referred to as Mehboob, the beloved. The third is Makhdoom Muhyiddin, born in 1808, and he, I think, passed away in 1969. So Makhdoom is another of personalities that I feel represents a pivotal point in the history of literature of Hyderabad. So these 3 personalities and the people, other poets around them, is what I'm going to divide my talk into. So let's begin with the Qutub Shahi period. Of course, Tana Shah was the last Sultan of Golconda and poet of some repute. But the most famous poet of Qutub Shahi times was the founder of the city of Hyderabad, Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, the 5th Sultan. He has a lot of firsts to his credit. He is considered the first poet of Urdu to have a divan to his credit. A divan is a full volume of poetry. So Muhammad Quli is the first Sahib Diwan Shair of Urdu. Of course, the language was not known as Urdu in those days. That nomenclature came about 2 centuries later, I think. In the days of early contact between the 2 cultures, the Persian culture that was brought into India and the existing Indian culture, a via media, a language of communication, took birth in various parts of the country. Its development in the Deccan, because of the regional affiliation, the language came to be known as Dakhni here. And it was Dakhni, the language in which Muhammad Quli and his contemporaries were expressing their poetic feelings. The feelings were being expressed in that language. So this is a first for Urdu, Old Urdu, if you want to call it that. Some people have called it Proto-Urdu. But then it had a few peculiarities, some unique features, which unfortunately was lost later when the language evolved into Urdu. Dakhini is one of the few literatures in the world which is in the language of the people, of the masses, and the language of the times. Normally, literature is neither in the language of the people nor in the language of the times. It requires a certain level of intellect to understand poetry. But the experiment that happened in the Deccan, the poetry was being composed and written for the people. Poets took great pains to go out in the market, scour for the market for words, new words, the words that they were used by the masses, phrases, similes, metaphors. All these they then brought into the poetry that was being composed. That is the uniqueness of Dakhini. And Muhammad Quli has written about on various subjects, on festivals, on culture, on, of course, the mainstay as a most Urdu poetry is the romantic part of it. But beyond that, he has written about a lot of other things which give us an idea of the prevailing culture of his times. I will just quickly go through the 2 or 3 Qutub Shahid poets who are my favorite. The first, of course, is Muhammad Ali, and one of his ghazals is very famous. It has been rendered by numerous people, great artists of the world. Malika Putra has sung this ghazal. Hyderabad-based has sung this ghazal. And when Sham Benegal made a movie with Hyderabad, Nishan, he had, I think, Preeti Sagar sing the same ghazal for that film. It goes something like this: Piya baaj pyala, piya jaye na, piya baaj ek dil, jiya jaye na. It's difficult to even have a cup of wine without the beloved being present, and it is impossible to spend even a moment in separation away from the beloved. Piya baaj pyala, piya jaye na, piya baaj ek dil, jiya jaye na, kahe te piya bin suburi karo, kaha jaye amma, kiya jaye na. And he concludes by saying, he addresses himself in the third person. Qutub Shah ne de muj diwane ko pan, diwane ko kuch pan diya jayega. O Qutub Shah, will you not talk some sense into this love-crazed person? Is it because it is futile to talk to people who are crazy in love? This is one interpretation. People have interpreted it in different ways. And that is the beauty of Urdu poetry, especially the ghazal, where every couplet can be interpreted in at least two ways. That ambiguity and the interpretation is left to the listener or the reader. That is the uniqueness of ghazal. By the time of Quli, or long before that, a sense of belonging had taken place in the minds of people who had come from abroad and settled in India. You find it even in as early as Amir Khusro in the 12th century, 13th century. But by the time of Quli, it had also taken on a more specific relation to the land that they were living in. So from India, it had now become the Deccan. And by the time of Quli, regional identities had become so strong that even Telangana was, expressed in poetry. The blatant regional affiliation, I think, has been expressed. I think no greater composition regarding such a blatant declaration of regional identity can be found anywhere. Where we find it in the poetry of the court poet of Muhammad Quli, Mullah Asadullah Wajhi, where he, in his magnum opus, a narrative poem, Masnavi, Qutub Mushtari. There's a long story, I won't go through that, we don't have time for that, but there is a blatant declaration of regional identity. Trying to convince princes from Bengal to come with him and Prince uses these words to describe his land. दक्कन सा नहीं ठार संसार में, पुनज फाजला का है इस ठार में। दक्कन है नगीना, अंगूठी है जग, अंगूठी को हुर्मत, नगीना है लग। दक्कन खन बहुत ही खासा है, दक्कन खन बहुत ही खासा है, तेलंगाना इसका खुलासा है। He says, there's no place like the Deccan in the world, because Deccan is the birthplace of intellectuals. And he says, Deccan hai nagina, Deccan is the gem, the word is the ring. And the ring gets its value, its worth from the gem. So the Deccan is the gem in the ring. Then he said, okay, Telangana is great, Deccan is great, but even in the Deccan, Telangana is ka khulasa hai. Telangana is the essence of the Deccan. So that is the extent of regional identity that it being fostered in their hearts. Now coming to the personality that I mentioned in the beginning as the marker of this period, Abul Hasan Tala Shah, the last Sultan of Golconda. He has a distinct style which is very different from others. He had the capability of expressing himself in Dakhini as well as a very Persianized idiom, which was pioneering effort, because it took another 100 years before people in the Deccan, of course, first, and then in North India started using a more Persianized idiom in their poetry. Now, Tana Shah created beautiful poetry in both idioms, the Dakhini idiom and the Persianized idiom. In the Dakhini idiom, one of the famous poems of his, present two stanzas of that. तुझ मुख को कोई चंदर कते, कुछ सूर से अनवर कते, कुछ खिजरे जां परवर कते, कोई कुछ कते, कोई कुछ कते. Some people call you, some people say that your face is like the moon, Chandrama, while others claim that it glows brighter than the sun itself, Sur se Anwar, brighter than the sun, Surya. Kuch Khizre Jahan Parvar Karte. Some claim that it is the elixir of life itself. Koi kuch kate, koi kuch kate. Similarly, we're talking about the lips of the beloved. He says, the second phase, the marker that we've chosen is Nawab Mir Mahbub Ali Pasha, Khan, the sixth Nizam of Hyderabad, who is popularly known as the Beloved. We have books written on him as the Beloved, in the days of the Beloved. But the period starts from the end of Qutub Shahi rule and continues till his times. He was himself a gifted poet, and 1908, when there was this devastating floods in the city, he opened up his palaces, he started feeding the poor, emptied the treasury, पूरी अपनी चीजें लुटा दी उन्होंने, कुछ नहीं बचा, खाली हो गई थी पूरे खजाना खाली, जिसकी वजह से उनको महबूब कहा गया और पॉपुलरली हैदराबाद के लोग उनको महबूब कहते हैं. कोई किसी ने कहा कि ये आप बिल्कुल कुछ ज्यादा ही कर दे रहे हैं कि हर चीज सैक्रिफाइस कर दे रहे हैं लोगों के लिए. तो जब उन्होंने इस शेयर कहा था कपलेट, I think which one couplet is enough to that you have an idea of the personality and the poetry of he said, आसफ को जान माल से अपने नहीं डरे, गर काम आए खल्क की राहत के वास्ते. आसफ को जान माल से अपने नहीं डरे. Asif cares two hoots about his life and his wealth. He is least bothered about how it's spent. He really does. He is not bothered at all. Why? Gar kaam aaye khalq ki rahat ke vaste. If it comes, if it makes a difference, or if it is used to misery of the masses. लोगों के काम आए, जरूरतमंदों के काम आए, that is enough. मेरी जान भी हाजिर, मेरे माल भी हाजिर. That was my motivation. यहाँ से शुरुआत होती है सेकंड फेज ऑफ हैदराबाद पोएट्री. और ये जो थ्रेड है ऑफ सूफीज्म ऑफ मिस्टिसिज्म, ये बहुत कंटिन्यूअस है. हाँ, रोमांटिक पोएट्री भी कही गई, बहुत खूबसूरत रोमांटिक पोएट्री कही गई, लेकिन ये कहीं ना कहीं ये जो अंडर करंट ऑफ सूफी थॉट वो चलता आ रहा है. ये आया महबूबी पाशा के जमाने तक. महबूबी पाशा के खुद कंटेम्पररी और उनके दीवान थे जो बहुत ही अनदर बिलोवेड पर्सनालिटी और महाराजा. हैदराबाद वालों को ये महाराजा सिनोनिमस विद महाराजा किशन प्रसाद, और कोई होता ही नहीं. हैदराबादी को कह दीजिए महाराजा, वो खुद समझ जाएगा कि ये टॉकिंग अबाउट महाराजा किशन प्रसाद. शाह तखल्लुस करते थे, बचपन में साथी भी थे महबूबी पाशा के. तो शाह जो है वो भी सूफियाना रंग चढ़ गया था. तो लोग पूछने लगे कि भाई आखिर तुम हो कौन, क्या तुम हिंदू हो या मुसलमान हो, क्या हो? बातें कभी ऐसी करते हैं, कभी वैसी करते हैं, अपने आप को सूर्यवंशी कहते हैं, खत्री, और तुम फिर अजीब अजीब बातें करते हो. तो महाराजा ने कहा कि ना मैं हिंदू ना मैं मुसलमान, हर मजहब है मेरा ईमान, शाद का मजहब शादी जाने, आजादी आजादी. न मैं हिंदू हूँ ना मुसलमान. अरे मेरा मजहब मुझे मालूम, तुमको क्या करने का है मेरा मजहब? दैट इज माय पर्सनल थिंग. मेरा मजहब मैं देख रहा हूँ, शाद का मजहब शादी जाने, क्योंकि मैं आजाद हूँ इन चीजों से, ये बॉन्ड से कि यार मुस्लिम है, हिंदू है. मैं फ्री, और जो फ्री होता है वही जानता है आजादी किसको कहते हैं. महाराजा की और बहुत सी चीजें, मेरा वक्त नहीं है वो सुनाने का, फिर कभी मौका मिला तो सुनाऊंगा. महाराजा का खुद जो है काफी घंटे बात की जा सकती है उनकी शायरी. इसी पीरियड में जैसे मैंने कहा, एक और आपको शायर मिलते हैं, हजरत शाह की दरगाह नाम बनी फिर सूफी से. वो भी कुछ इस किस्म की बात कहते हैं कि कुफ्र काफिर को भला, शेख को इस्लाम भला, आशिका आप भले, अपना दिल आराम. जो बिलीव नहीं करता, अनबिलीवर, let him be happy with that. And one who believes in Islam, let him be happy with it. शेख को उधर कुछ ना दो. हम आशिक हैं, हम अपने आप में भले हैं, और अपना ऊपर वाला जो महबूब है वो हमारे लिए काफी. तो इस किस्म की बातें होती रही हैं हैदराबाद में. तो ये बहुत खूबसूरत फेज था, ये चलता रहा. ये फेज जो है खत्म हुआ महबूबी पाशा, क्योंकि पूरा कल्चरल चेंज भी आया था बिकॉज ऑफ द रिफॉर्म्स ब्रॉट इन बाय सालार जंग. वो इंग्लिश कल्चर को ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट करने लगा था हैदराबाद को. नाउ वी कम टू द लास्ट फेज, मखदूम. मखदूम मुहिउद्दीन, the famous revolutionary poet of Hyderabad. I'm not going to talk about his revolutionary poetry, that's a different topic altogether. But Makhdoom has composed some of the most popular romantic verses that were created in Hyderabad. And they are the favorite, all-time favorites of most of the people of Hyderabad. Makhdoom, a lot of people will know him through songs that have been made popular in Hindi films. The first one was way back in the 1960s when Makhdoom was still alive. There was a film in which one of his poems was used. एक चमेली के मंडवे तले, मैं कदे से जरा दूर उस मोड़ पर, दो बदन प्यार की आग में जल गए. That was a very famous song sung by Mohammed Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar. You can Google it and listen to it. It's a beautiful piece of poetry composed by Makhdoom. Two of other of his ghazals are also used in films. One was used by I think Muzaffar Ali, if I remember correctly. sang that famous ghazal of his. The movie was Gaman by Muzaffar Ali, and it had that beautiful ghazal of Makhdoom. आपकी याद आती रही रात भर, चश्मे नम मुस्कुराती रही रात भर, कोई दीवाना गलियों में फिरता रहा, कोई आवाज आती रही रात भर. And the last, of course, was used in a film called Bazaar. Beautiful composition again, Lata Mangeshkar and Talat Aziz. खिड़खिड़ी रात बात फूलों की, रात है या बारात फूलों की, फूल के हार फूल के गजरे, शाम फूलों की, रात फूलों की. And the most beautiful couplet in this ghazal, आपका साथ साथ फूलों का, आपकी बात बात फूलों की. यानी कि being with you is like being with flowers, and talking about you is like talking about flowers. इसको लोग ऐसे भी पढ़ सकते हैं, जैसे मैंने कहा कि every ghazal couplet is open for multiple interpretation. आपका साथ साथ फूलों की फूलों का, आपकी बात बात फूलों की, यानी कि हर बात आपकी फूलों की बात. तो ये मखदूम थे. मखदूम को हैदराबाद के लोगों ने बहुत चाहा, दिल खोल के. Even as a trade union leader, he was very popular. The CPI party office here in Hyderabad is named after Makhdoom Bhawan. I think we'll end this section with a poem, a beautiful poem composed by Makhdoom. It's a tribute to Bhagmati, famous courtesan, the beloved of Muhammad Quli Qutb Shah, the founder of Hyderabad. Makhdoom pays his tribute like this. प्यार से आंख भर आती है, कमल खिलते हैं, जब कभी लब पे तेरा नाम वफा आता है. And he concludes by saying that शहर बाकी है, मोहब्बत का नशा बाकी है, दिलबरी बाकी है, दिलदारी जहाँ बाकी है, सरे फहरिस्ते निगराने जहाँ बाकी है, तू नहीं तेरी चश्मे निगरां बाकी. So I think that is a great tribute to Bhagmati. कि शहर बाकी है, city thrives and exists. मोहब्बत का निशा बाकी है, चारमीनार, symbol of love बाकी, दिलबरी बाकी है, दिलदारी जहाँ बाकी है. Be those emotions and feelings of love remain the people of Hyderabad. सारे फहरिस्त निगाह पूरी दुनिया में your love affair and your personality and your tale heads the list of the romantic tales of the world. तू नहीं है, although you are not around now. तेरी चश्मे निगरां बाकी, your guarding eye, your watchful eye keeps watch, keeps guard on the city. Unfortunately, in recent times we have lost a lot of history. I hope people realize what Makhdoom was trying to say and try to preserve as much of the city and its culture as possible. Thank you.